It's good to speak with you again, Matt. So you were telling me about your travels. You recently did a world tour, and today's topic is regarding resilience. Can you give a little background about this topic of resilience and your recent trip?
You bet. Excited to talk with you again, Dustin. I had the privilege of touring in Turkey, in Greece, in Cyprus, and in Malta. I'm very excited to tell you that in Turkey we have 4 new ambassadors who are excited about bringing the system key risk modeling process and risk discovery process into Turkish businesses, specifically both finance and operations. We're targeting mid-sized businesses in Turkey. In Cyprus, we will be looking more at the small business, specifically small business sector. In Greece, we're targeting the large range of defense contractors. And in Malta, it will be more a mix of university and operational. We're going to blend the two. So it was a privilege to tour. The food in all 4 countries is fantastic. Thumbs up for Turkish Airlines getting me there and back. And it was a great trip and a great experience for me to see that the lessons we've learned for building resilient supply chains are true, especially overseas, at least in the 4 Eastern Mediterranean countries where I was privileged to just recently tour in October. So with that as a way to get started, I'm really excited to talk about the concept of resilience in the supply chain, because it comes back to the heart of what you and I talked about in our previous discussion. Really, the simple things, the human relationships, are what builds the technology. It isn't the other way around. Essentially, Dustin, resilience is what you do when things go off plan. It really is not software. It really is not hardware. It really is the people-to-people connection. That's the essence of everything we do here at the nonprofit Chamber of Commerce for Risk that I chair. It's helping people understand that the one-to-one business intimacy, the people relationships, are what drive today's supply chain resilience.
You mentioned there's 4 lessons for supply chain leaders. Can you talk about the first lesson?
Absolutely. I'm turning my head a little bit because I'm following some notes here so that I can keep on track. And essentially, we want to cover 4 steps. Resilience is driven by what I call granularity. And granularity is how closely we observe the natural world around us, how much attention we pay to the world that's flowing by us. The third point that we'll be covering is you've got to love your people in a practical day-to-day way. Loving your people means giving them the resources they need to get their jobs done. Don't make excuses. Get things done and help your people get rid of problems so that they can get done the jobs for which you hired them. And the fourth really is how do you build innovation? And as we'll discuss briefly, building innovation comes from these first 3 steps. So the fourth really is implementing the first 3. And in the first lesson, let me turn back to my notes for a sec. The first lesson is knowing your business. This may sound overly simplistic because I'm not going to talk about how do you drive trucks, how do you fly airplanes, how do you work very expensive software. I'm going to talk about running the human resources function so that you hire the best people. And the only way you're going to do that is get an HR leader with decades of experience in actually reading people and understanding cultures. Because every culture has a language. I don't mean the words they speak, I mean the way that they live. And every culture either contributes to or detracts from the ability for a risk-free or risk-resilient culture. So when you find talented people, create the opportunity for them to have success in your organization by getting rid of the silly bureaucratic stumbling blocks that far too many of us experience on a regular basis. That's essentially the essence of building what I call the milk stool. People, process, protocol, make sure that your supply chain is structured for success. If you have to have a government intervention to get 2 companies to work together, or if you have to have physical assets come together and have backup assets in play for maybe a seasonal storm, get these assets in play. That's not a risk. You already know that seasonal storms happen on a regular basis. So get the assets in play and don't accept any excuses. That's why we're very, very different, is that the heart of the matter is not the hardware and software. The heart of the matter is the people, and then allowing the people to follow the process, which your experience knows, your experience has told you, works. That's pretty much the first lesson.
Thanks. How about the second lesson?
The second lesson comes from what I call the 11th century samurai tea story. Authors like Rick Warren have modernized it with their concept of a purpose-driven life. The power in powerlessness. That's a concept that has both Eastern and Western connotations. But the power in powerlessness says that you look around you and you let other people take the credit. You let other people lead. You lead invisibly like the best waiter. The image of a good waiter is someone who's never there until you need them, and then when you do, they have exactly what you need. That's the essence of having behind-the-scenes geniuses that aren't looking for fame. They make sure that the right fuel connections are there. They make sure that the right amount of fuel is ready when the vehicle needs it, whether that's a plane or a truck or anything else. They're there to make sure the job gets done. They're not there to make themselves look good. That's coming from the samurai tea ceremony, where technical mastery and humility were wedded together. That's the samurai concept. And that's an easy way to summarize what could be a semester-long course in logistics, is technical mastery with humility. It really is that simple.
And how about lesson 3?
Lesson 3, I'm going to wrap over here. And lesson 3 is that the real currencies of business are not money. The real currencies of business are not Turkish lira or euros or the US dollar. The real currencies of business are relationships. What do I give to you? What do you give to me? And how do we establish a medium of exchange where we both are well-fed, well taken care of, well-sheltered from storms, and we have the ability to shine in our respective disciplines? Those are the currencies that are most important. When we give these humble people who don't want credit, when we give them the spotlight in an appropriate vehicle subject to their, position of expertise, then we are paying it forward, like the saying goes. The essence of everything that we do is taking the human dimension and bringing it forward into areas of extremely high technology, like aviation or like international supply chain logistics. It's the same message delivered in 1,000 unique ways, is that people precede and people trump technology each and every time. If you want the technology to work right, you've got to treat your people right. That is the simple lesson that, again, could be expanded into a semester-long workshop or a semester-long collegiate course on supply chain logistics, is work with people, give them the tools they need to succeed, allow them to flourish by doing whatever you got to do on the back end to allow that flourishing to occur, and then work in the currencies that reward people, which is not money. The currencies most important to business are business relationships, people-to-people relationships. And that's really kind of the summary of the first 3. Smart people share the care. Smart people let people be actual people, which means they're not going to follow a script when they're on a customer service call. They're just going to get it done. There was a fascinating exchange captured in a YouTube video where a customer service rep acted like a Star Trek character, and the person on the other end of the line picked it up, and it was just funnier than all get out, but they actually got the person's technology problem solved while portraying Star Trek characters. And the reason it went viral on video is because people have had this situation where the person on the other end of the phone doesn't sound like a person. You can't get them to actually go off script and help you solve the problem. People that understand they're in the business of getting the job done will go off script, or they will put on a persona if that puts someone else at ease. Those are the kinds of people that are worth their weight in gold.
And what is the fourth and final lesson?
The real lesson that Olympic level dedication to your craft brings out is that you've got to mature beyond mere technical knowledge. The gentleman that I'm going to quote is named Eckert Rylan. Eckert Rylan is the regional president for Bosch Gasoline Systems. And there is a story that he tells about having to get someone to have cross-disciplinary insight. It's a fairly long story, but the message is really, how do we get someone to understand a new topic? And the way that they understand that new topic is very much aligned with a story that my grandfather told me. And I'll wrap up with a silly story that my great-grandfather told me. There was a ship captain, and he was seeing a light bob up and down on the horizon. So he told his radioman to radio that ship that they would have to change course. And the message came back, and the radioman was a little bit scared because this captain was not a pleasant person. This captain violated all the examples we just gave. The radioman says, "Sir, that you will have to go 3 degrees left or 3 degrees right. You cannot remain on your present course." And as the radioman exploded, the captain just said all sorts of foul language and said, "You tell that idiot in that dinghy that I'm an aircraft carrier and he will change course." And the message comes back and says, "The idiot in the dinghy respectfully tells you that he is a lighthouse, and if you continue on this course, that he will attend your funeral and console your widow." So as I was presenting this, as I was relaying this story that I adapted from a very learned gentleman in the gasoline industry, the entire crowd breaks up, because we've all heard people that just blow up for no reason when they're actually the ones that have to change. The lighthouse is immovable, and it's the aircraft carrier captain, that's going to have to be humble enough to change course. That single story kind of wraps up our 4 points of hire talented people. You got to have the talent to be an aircraft carrier captain. Give them the tools they need. He had all the resources at his disposal. Then be humble enough to recognize the surroundings you're in and make the changes. Change course when you need to. Don't crash into the rocks because you refuse to change course. The lighthouse story is simple. It takes a moment to tell, and it really helps people of all cultures, anyone that has a coastline, anyone that has a maritime seafaring tradition, to understand these concepts of being humble to develop a resilient supply chain culture. So with those 4, I think that we're running close to our time, and I'm really excited to have gotten a chance to share with you again. Anything you want to wrap up with, Dustin?
Well, I thank you again for sharing your views about resilience and what is resilience. And I look forward to future talks as well.
Well, Dustin, thanks again, and I'll look forward to the edited version. For sure, let me know as soon as it's up. I'll be excited to view it.
Thank you.